from giving me everything that I need. Hey, everybody. So I am Dr. Tori J. I'm the founder and CEO of the Fatherless Generation Foundation. And I wanted to come on tonight because it's Healing Tuesday. So every Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I get on to Periscope, sometimes Instagram and Facebook. And I talk about different subjects, different topics that will allow you to heal as a fatherless child or someone who has journeyed through growing up fatherless. Tonight, I want to talk about when you marry the fatherless. Funny enough, look, hey, Nydia, she's like, I'm here. How are you? It was something that had been brewing for a couple of days. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to read this letter that somebody inboxed me. And I'm going to read it because I think it'll add value, especially in the time where so many people are talking about, don't marry somebody who's broken. You know, I've seen a lot of those posts. And so in seeing those posts, it's made me like question a lot of things. When we say don't marry a broken man, the problem is you might be a broken woman. So how do you get to distinguish that or call somebody that in the process? How do you get to basically ridicule somebody and judge them for their brokenness when you have blinders on concerning your own? And I said, you know what? I need to have this conversation. It was a letter that was sent to me. I'm going to read the letter in its entirety so that you guys can get the context. And then we're going to jump into some back and forth dialogue. Once again, it's Healing Tuesday. So Healing Tuesday means that I need you to engage. I need you to share some of your stories. I need you, when I'm asking you yes or no questions, I want you fully engaged to talk to me about where you are, because we're having these issues. Fatherless children exist. If there are 24 and almost 25 million fatherless children running around and growing up this way, you are bound to run into one of them in your dating life. And if you are one of us, then that means that you're more likely to marry one of us. And you need to be able to navigate this thing. You need to be able to understand some stuff. And you need to be able to come face to face with your own hurt and pain. So tonight, that's where we're going to go. So let me pull this letter up so I can have this conversation with you. The letter is candid. The letter is candid. So what's it really like to marry someone who's fatherless? This person says, I was always a SOB. That's how they started out. I'm one of those temperamental, creative, dedicated, crazy people. I have an addictive personality, and when I get interested in something, or God forbid, someone, I smear it, or her, because this is a male, all over me from dusk till dawn, and I don't give a damn if it looks messed up or smells strange. I've never cared what other people think, but at the same dang on time, I've always cared way too much about what other people think. I'm super effed up. Sometimes I want to blame all of the bad parts of who I am or who I've been on the fact that my dad just up and split on us once upon a time. And not a day goes by anymore when I don't ponder the idea that perhaps being abandoned by my own parent when I was 9 years old damaged me in ways I never even recognized or considered. We're going to get to that. But I struggle with thinking things like that because I have dignity and I'm self-knowledged, probably even educated. And I would love to pin a lot of my darker side or my lesser side on the father who broke my heart, yet I don't do that, because I feel like I'm shrinking responsibility when I do that. If I simply take one last drag, toss my cig into the street, and chalk my own human frailty and failings up to the dad who left me, what's the end game? How do you become a better, cooler, more peaceful, loving human being, even at 44 years old, if you don't try to at least understand what you'll never, ever understand? We're going to get onto that too. I don't know the answer. I don't imagine it was always easy to be married to me, or even ever easy. I'm divorced now, so on the surface, that says something. But here's my problems. No matter how tough, emotional, GQ super dude I tried to be, when I zeroed in hard on my marriage and my married self, using retrospect in some attempt to, in some respect, to look into my true, okay, y'all gotta bear with me on these because he cussing a lot, on my true self from the wreckage of a quick and murky love affair that turned into a marriage with kids. I still can't help but to always swing back around to the same old mother effing thing, my dad. I've tried so hard to convince myself that being a fatherless son has no real effect on how I turned out as a husband or even as a man. But I'm done with that. It's too exhausting. I keep circling the same damn block over and over again. His absence in my life does matter. I've had an extremely hard time finding my groove as a husband because of the fact that I grew up without a dad. And I hate saying that. I want to punch myself in the face for thinking it. But I keep recognizing its gross face every time I flip over some marriage rock from my past looking for clues. I wasn't ready to be a husband when I got married, and it wasn't because we didn't wait 9 years and live together in some crappy apartment for a long stretch before we just knew we were finally ready for holy matrimony. That's all BS. I wasn't ready to be a husband because I missed out on so much of what a husband ultimately has to offer, which is the ability to carry all of the love, learning, knowledge, school of hard knocks degrees that they soaked in from their own dads through the years. Is that me making crap up? I am creating some kind of fatherly fairy tale that doesn't actually ever go down like that. I don't think so anyway. I'm not saying you absolutely have to have a dad in your life to end up being a badass husband. Not at all. You probably know a few fellows who never had a good father in their lives, but turned out to be fine spouses, loving and hardworking and good listeners. Maybe not. Sometimes though, women end up marrying guys like me, and there are lots of me's out there. I was raised by a single mom, and she loved the hell out of me. And then I had a stepdad from the time I was 17, and he loved the hell out of me too. But I still missed out on something monumental and beautiful. I brought nothing to the table when it came to manhood. I had to learn it all on my own, and it sucked. And I sucked at a lot of it. So when it came to these things, I would have loved to learn from my dad in the father-son talks of my dreams. I brought none of that to my marriage. I brought the actual opposite. I'm almost done here, guys, but I think this letter says a lot. I wasn't self-taught emotional street rhymes. I wanted to love so effing badly, but I was the worst at understanding how it ebbs and flows and how it requires so much patience and understanding. I wanted to love someone forever, and I wanted her to love me forever. I thought the vows meant that was the deal. I was living on the surface of things because that's all I'd ever known. It had to be hard to be married to a guy who had so much about him that was attractive and cool and engaging, but who ended up having no idea how to navigate marriage. The divorce wasn't all my fault, of course, but I can look you in the eye today and tell you I was out of my element when it came to true love. And I know my lack of father was a big reason why. All I can do now is accept that and try to turn it around. People can break your heart by leaving you, and the damage is tried and true. But I'm still self-taught. I'm still a self-taught lover and a self-made man in every way, shape, and form. And now that I understand what the hell has been happening, well, I might just be one of the coolest guys who ever walked into the bar, stopped in his tracks, got all lost in the smile of someone out of a smile out of someone with her friends, gone out for a drink or two on a Wednesday night, and then this just so happened to then show up. I hope so. Anyway, I really effing hope so. So, okay, so let's jump into this, because I know that was a lot there. And I know some of you, if you are who I think you are, because I see some who's on here, you've picked up on some things that were in this conversation. So if you are a fatherless son, I want you to put 1 in the box. And if you're a fatherless daughter, I want you to put 2 in the box. Fatherless sons, put 1. Fatherless daughters, put 2. So I can see who I have on here. As I read that letter, I want to know what stood out to you. I want to know what stood out to you. And for those of you who are watching by replay, I'm going to say it early this week. I want you to put replay in the box right now so that I know that you're tuning in through replay. So what stood out to you in the letter? What was the thing that captured you? I know you can't put everything in there, but give me one thing that captured you in the letter. One of the things that captured me, and it will always capture me in anything that I read and things that people post, is too many of us journey throughout our lives with this struggle. And the struggle is never recognizing or even considering that your fatherless journey and the absence of your father is impacting you now. He said his father walked out on him when he was 9, and he is now 44, still dealing with the ramifications of that father leaving. That is his current state, and it is truly the culprit of many of us, but we don't recognize it. And we don't recognize it because we're doing the very same thing that the author was doing. We don't want to chuck it up in any way, shape, or form to our fatherless stuff. We don't want to believe that that is steering us. It is the rudder in the ship that is guiding you every which way that you're going. I will tell you that I know it's hard, and I believe it's set up to be hard. We live in a world that tells us, move on from your past, let the past be the past, don't go back to the past. But let me tell you something. I will never forget the day I heard a lady by the name of Dr. Wanda Turner. She was at a singles conference at a church I attended back in Michigan, and that was a long time ago. And she said something at this conference that I remember it word for word because that's how much it shook me to my core. She said, sometimes you have to row backwards. Yeah. Like, when you're rowing in a boat, you got to row backwards. Sometimes you got to row backwards in order to row forward. And when she said it, I was like, what's she talking about? Because we say, you never go backwards. We say, leave the past in the past. I'm going to look at that in just a minute, Nydia. And so when she said that, it threw me for a loop because it seemingly went against everything I've been taught in life. And at that point, I was in my early 20s. And so I was like, what? Rowing backwards to go forward. And as I do this work, and as I've had to do my own work of healing my fatherless journey, I recognize the fact he's okay because he always get in the picture. He like Diddy, as they say, always in the video, always in the camera, because he knows I'm filming. He knows I'm filming. And so he wants to be up here with me. You guys, this is Tokyo. This is our emotional support doggy. Tell him, Tokyo, say, go buy my book. Tell him, say, go buy my book, How Tokyo Found His Father. And so when you're having to go backwards, it goes against everything that life and people tell you. It is contrary to that. But let me give you some statistics of fatherless daughters when it comes to relationships. Daughters of single parents with meaning without a father involved are 53 times more likely to marry as teenagers, 711% more likely to have children as teenagers. That was a number. 164% more likely to have a premarital birth, and 92% more likely to get a divorce themselves once they are married. How many of y'all like those statistics? I know I don't. Nydia said we're gonna change Tokyo's name to Diddy. You know he does this every week. He is sitting down here next to my foot during the day. Nydia, he don't even want to be anywhere near me. He runs from me half the time because he knows I like to snuggle. And he's like, I'm a man, I don't want to do that. And so now he's sitting up here in my lap because he knows. He knows what's going on. He knows I'm taping. Those statistics are harsh to me, way harsh. They're difficult to swallow. It's hard for me to even comprehend when you tell me 711% more likely to have children as teenagers and 164% more likely to have premarital births. Can we keep it real here? We've seen this in our own lives. We've seen it play out in our neighborhoods. We've seen it play out in our churches, but we still pretend like it's not happening to people. And we excuse it. We literally disregard these things from happening, or we don't want to judge anyone. And I'm not telling you to judge anyone, but you got to at least acknowledge it, right? You got to at least acknowledge the fact that you know it, somebody who had, or multiple people who were pregnant as teenagers. Doesn't mean doom and gloom. Fatherlessness doesn't mean doom and gloom. It just means you're going to have some challenges, some obstacles, some hurdles to overcome. And you have to acknowledge those things in order to be able to navigate life in a way that's at least close to normal. And as the article said, we're not trying to tell you that having a father means that everything's going to be perfect and everything's going to be the way that we would like it to be, right? We're not telling you that. What we're telling you is having a father or not having a father has a true impact on your life. And you've got to be able to accept that because you didn't have a father. Too often we get defensive, we get upset, and we get an attitude over the fact that, well, you know, getting married ain't no guarantee. And I'm like, yeah, but it's a better guarantee than having a baby without somebody being married. Like, it's like, can we be honest here? So Nydia, you said you don't want to be that whiny person who is stuck in the past. You don't. Excuse me, I got the hiccups. You don't want to be a whiny person who's stuck in the past, but you want to address the past. I'm not telling you to live in the past. I'm telling you to go look at it. Go deal with whatever it is. Because if you're not dealing with what's in your past, thank you. If you're not dealing with...
You better tell them that's
tea. They gonna think it's some brown liquor. That's pretty dark. That's Louisiana tea. You've got to deal with your past in order to go forward. It's the very thing that Dr. Wanda Turner said that day. And we're not asking you, I'm saying it again, I'm not asking you to live in your past. I'm asking you to go face it. I'm asking you to go take a look at it, at least, at very minimum, and allow the things that pop up to come forward. And I'm going to say this too. As we're looking at these numbers concerning fatherless daughters and divorce, don't assume that it's not the same for fatherless sons. That's why I'm quoting it. I'm not talking about girls just being fatherless here. I'm talking about men and women. And if I am 92% more likely to get a divorce, then I'm divorcing someone who's probably got that same number or at least close to it.
It's not race specific.
It is not. My husband's in the background chiming in tonight, y'all. It is not race specific. Fatherlessness is not about Black people. I know y'all sometimes want to make it that, and other times you don't. Fatherlessness is not about Black people. Can I say that again? It is not. It is about all of us. Those numbers are about all of us. And when we know for doggone sure, we know for a fact we don't want to roll backwards, and we don't want to roll backwards into this murky, unknown territory concerning a person who abandoned us. It's not something we're interested in at all. Because if this person abandoned us and rejected us, why do we even care anyway, is what a lot of people say to me. The truth is, you've got to roll back into this unknown territory because it's necessary for the healing of your heart. Rowing back into this unknown territory requires you to tap into a place of your heart that many don't even dare to venture into. Many of you will not even, you won't venture into it you won't even allow anybody else to get in there. There's barriers, there's boundaries, there's challenges to being involved in a relationship with a fatherless child, or I'll say fatherless son and fatherless daughter. So how many of you love to keep your relationship on the surface? Like, you love him, but they can't go too deep into your heart. If you have an issue with keeping your relationships pretty surfacey, I want you to put a 1 in the box for yes. And if no, you allow people to venture and travel in through there, put a 2 in the box. If you see comments or questions, babe, that I don't see, let me know. If you keep it surfacey, put a 1 in the box. If you allow people to venture in, put a 2. Say, no, I allow people to come in. This fatherless son in this letter says something so profound that many of you need to consider. And I want to look at this and quote it word for word. He said, how do you become the person you want to be? How do you become the person you want to be? You have to at least try to understand what you probably will never understand. But in trying to understand, you will gain, and that's what he said, and I'm sorry. He said, you have to at least try to understand what you probably will never understand in order to become the person you want to be. My thought here is, in understanding, you gain insight into the person who abandoned you and who left you. And that brings empathy, at least bare minimum, empathy into your life, bare minimum. And empathy is a place where you can at least have a level of compassion for this person who abandoned you, because you're going to learn something about their journey. You're going to learn something about their lives. You're going to learn something about how they grew up. You're going to learn something about them that you did not know. And it's super important for you to learn that. It's so important for you to learn it so that you can move past whatever heartbreak, heart wound, father wound that you're experiencing. Because more than likely, your parent who abandoned you has experienced abandonment as well. The parent who rejected you more than likely experienced rejection as well. And in dealing with this, you've got to acknowledge the fact that maybe they just didn't know what they were doing either. This person who wrote this letter, he has children because he's divorced. So he has children who are now going to struggle with the same thing he struggled with, because he said his father left and abandoned them when he was 9. So now they have to deal with it. We repeat cycles. And you know it's my phrase. We repeat cycles. We don't create them. We repeat them. So in order to not repeat them and to break the cycle, you got to know what the cycle is in the first place. So let's be clear. It's never easy marrying a fatherless person, especially a fatherless person who has not come face to face with their heartbreak. And if you want to truly heal, you're going to have to do that. You're going to have to just suck it up and understand that in order for you to heal and be a great person for someone to date, you are going to have to come face to face with the truth of your fatherless journey. Yes, she did. She said, I know mine did. I just never asked. I haven't talked to my father since April of 2014. And see, look, write a letter, send an email, send a smoke signal, send whatever it is you need to send. But let me help you with something, Nydia. And while I'm helping you with something, I'm going to help everybody else with something. Way too often when we are approaching the father, the person who abandoned us, because sometimes mothers abandon as well. What we do is we come at them with all this stuff that we done built up over the years in our throat. And that's not going to work. Approaching them in an aggressive tone, in an accusatory tone, is not how you got to do this. It doesn't work that way. Some people are like, oh, I tried to reunite with my father and it didn't work. And he closed the door in my face and all these different things. I'm not telling you that this is the sure all, way all, but I'm going to tell you it's worked out of the people that me doing it and out of the people that I've sent who have gone to reunite with their fathers, I'll tell you, it's at least worked 8 to 9 times out of 10. You go asking questions about who they are and where they come from. I want to get to know you. Because once you get to know them and how they grew up in their background, it'll open your eyes to how it was easy or not easy. Because I talk to fathers every day. It's never easy for them to walk away. We may think so, because that's an easy way to rationalize the scenario. It's an easy way for us to say, you know what? It was just so easy for them to pick up and move to the other side of town, and they raising them other kids over there. Let me tell you something about people who raise other children, Nydia, and they have another household. Being in a situation where a father has children on the other side of town, but he doesn't come see you, that has everything to do with your mother. Nothing to do with you. He doesn't either want to face your mother, or your mother got some drama that she brings to the table that he's just not interested in. And for some men, it's a new start. It's an opportunity to have a new start without all the drama and fix what they did wrong in the last relationship. Doesn't make it right. I'm just giving you an opportunity to maybe understand something. I know somebody who's in that journey, and he has now moved to a whole nother country, has a new baby. And I watched him journey through the other relationships that he was in, and it was not easy, but now he has a fresh start. And hopefully he will prove the other women wrong, and he will get it right this time. That's all you can hope for. Because growing up without your father, you are not always going to get it right. I see Stephanie on here. Hi, Stephanie. I see Taisha on here. And Seth says, hey, it's been a minute. Yes, it has. So I want to, let's deal with your heartbreak. Can we deal with your heartbreak tonight? Dealing with your heartbreak, we've got to go some places. And we have to go to the place of, some of you are dealing with what I call the merry-go-round effect. The merry-go-round effect is this. It's good for a while, and then it goes bad, and it's the same thing that makes it go bad. It's a trigger. It's good for a while in your relationship, and then it goes bad. It's good for a while, and then it goes, and it's like what we talked about with toxic moms. It's not consistently bad. There are seasons and times of it being good. However, because you don't know what the heck you're doing, it's eventually going to go bad again. And when it goes bad, the wheels fall off. When it goes bad, you then once again start to ponder. Every time it goes bad, is this because I didn't have a dad? And then something great will happen, and you move on from that. And then the bad happens again, and you go, I wonder what my dad is doing. Why hasn't he ever called me? Why do I feel this way about him? And then it gets something good happens. You guys start to celebrate again. And then it keeps happening like that. That's the merry-go-round effect. That's what I'm calling the merry-go-round effect. Because your father's absence in your life matters. It matters. And it doesn't make you a mess up. Like this guy keeps calling himself effed up, a SOB. He's calling himself all types of names. That was rough to read, but it's his truth. And so I allowed, I'm going to read his truth fully as he presented it. But your father's absence in your life matters. And therefore, I need you guys to understand this. He said something profound. And he talked about the difference between his manhood and him being a husband. There is a difference between learning to be a man and learning to be a husband. There is a difference between learning to be a woman and learning to be a wife. And we have a lot of men out here who have no idea how to be husbands. We have a lot of women out here who have no idea how to be wives. And I need some of y'all to chime in, because I got ate up on a post because people like to misinterpret. You can tell when people are hurt. They misinterpret the verbiage of the post and they interpret it in a way that's so far-fetched, and it's like, well, I'm not. And they come with this defense. It's like, oh, I hit something. And I wasn't trying to hit nothing, but I hit it. As they say, a hit dog will holler. That's what happens. Even this gentleman having a stepfather, he found no real comfort in having that stepfather. If you notice, stepfather was cool, and he loved, as he said, he loved the hell out of him. But the stepfather didn't cause him to not yearn for his own father. The stepfather didn't take up the slack for that. Stepfather taught him how to be a man, but his stepfather didn't teach him how to be a husband. So for those of you who got upset about my post, when I said there is, and I was quoting the world-renowned, my mentor, Dr. Warren Farrell, where he said there are no stats, there is no research that has been done that says stepfathers alleviate the pain of fatherlessness. People came after me and was like, how dare you say that? Big ups to the stepfathers who stepped up and stepped in. And I'm like, I'm not here to say it's not a good thing, but I'm here to tell you, it's not going to make much of a difference in the sense of your child being whole and complete. It adds a supplement, but it's not the end all. It's not the cure. So when you're looking at individuals who are striving to be women and striving to be men who then grow up to be great husbands and wives, the element and the component that's missing for many of them is having a father. Ladies, your father teaches you how to trust and love a man. And men, your father teaches you what it's like to be a man, and not only be a man, but be a husband. He teaches you the value of manhood. He teaches you the purpose of walking it out and then choosing a wife specifically who knows how to love and trust you enough to guide the relationship in the direction that God is calling it to go. And this is all order. And I'm not trying to be a traditionalist, but I'm married, and I'm going to tell you. And I'm married to a fatherless son, and I'm a fatherless daughter. Can we have that conversation another day? Maybe he'll step in here one day and have a conversation with us. Oh, he said, nah. Why not?
Because I said so.
Oh, because he sit right here. Every couple of Tuesdays, he sit right over here. Nydia, I'm going to need you to pull him out of the shadows. I'm going to need you to pull it out. I'm going to need you to pull him out of the shadows when he's home. He's not always home, right? Last week he wasn't here, and so he couldn't type in some of the stuff I needed typed in, the points that I was making. Nydia says, having a stepfather doesn't take away from wanting your own father in the picture. Nydia, exactly. For those of you who are just tuning in, this is a full engagement. You don't just have to sit and listen to me. If there's something you want to say, or I'm saying something that hits home, you don't even just have to hit the hearts. Go on and put the comment in the comment box, because you can help teach somebody else in the process of whatever you're thinking, or whatever the comment is, or the situation is that stuck out in your mind. So one of the other things that I think is vitally important to pick up on in this letter is he had this fantasy of what his dad was going to be like, or what it was like to have a dad pour into you. Can I tell y'all, it's never that. For the people who I have helped, adults that I've helped reunite with their fathers, one of the things that I always will share with them is, once you meet him, he is not going to be Superman. And you are going to have this moment of pause when you find out who he really is. My father and I probably were in a relationship for about maybe 4 or 5 months. And I just realized he was not okay with me. Like, I had God as my father for all those years, and he was messing that up. I had this perfect father. That's another topic we're going to tackle. When God is your father and you've accepted Christ as your father, and so therefore you struggling with, well, I'm good. Christ is we're going to have that conversation. But anyway, my father was a nice guy. He was a good father. But I'm going to tell y'all something. He was not the thing that I had painted in my mind. And because he was not that, I ended up writing him a letter shortly into our relationship. I want to say 4 or 5 months in. And the letter was like, look, you're messing up my relationship with God, and I need you to back off. I was like, you tearing this whole thing. He was tearing up the idea of a father that I had in my mind. And it caused me to struggle even more. I ended up calling him back about 2 weeks later after I got myself together. But I did write that letter to him. And I was big at writing my father letters. It was crazy because my father was blind by the time I met him. And so my bonus mother would read these letters. What you want, Toke? You hitting the computer, knocking stuff over. Okay. So that's a real moment for me. I always share these moments with y'all. I always share my story in these conversations. But I think it adds value to it. So you'll know that I too went through a season where I was like, this dude is tripping. He is not this amazing father. He is not God. Because he's not God, nah, I'll pass. But there was a benefit to having him in my life. There was a tremendous benefit. I would not be here talking to you, being, the CEO and the founder of the Fatherless Generation Foundation if it hadn't been for that relationship with him. Okay, Charles says, a stepfather is like trying to fill a 3-inch hole with a 2-inch screw. It's something. Probably better than nothing, but it's not the right hardware. Good message, Charles. I like that analogy. Look, Nydia did too. She liked that already. Yeah, it's something, and it gives you a supplement, right? But it doesn't give you exactly what you need because you can't look into the eyes of your stepfather and see you. You can't look into the eyes of your stepfather and connect with the DNA. He can't tell you some of the shortcomings and the pitfalls that you're going to fall into because we have to understand that DNA is transcribed within us in a certain way. And so once we're birthed and we have that person's DNA, there are things that are playing out in our lives that we have no real connection to other than it's passed down from, person to person, from father to child, and it's been going on for quite some time. That's the stuff that makes it vitally important for you to have, and why it's vitally important for you to have a relationship with your biological father. This self-taught aspect that he talks about, he said, I was self-taught and I wanted love so effing badly. But the worst part, I was not able to understand its ebbs and flows. So when we grow up fatherless, there's aspects about love and relationships that we miss out on because our parents were not in relationship. When you have a stepfather, at least you can glean when when your single mom gets married and then you see how two parents live together in a household. There's some things you can glean from that. That's the part that I think you can glean. You can glean aspects of their relationship if you want to acknowledge it. I remember talking to you guys recently. I don't even know if I did it on this page. I think I did it on my personal page. The young lady who did my hair, she began to talk about having a stepfather and how she thought her stepfather married her mama for a green card. I said, well, does he love her? And she was like, I don't know. I said, well, do you spend time with him? No. Well, she didn't even engage him enough to know what their relationship was like. I said, is your mother happy? Yeah. Like, okay, so is he creating that? I don't know. It was all of that. I'm giving you all of what she gave me. If you never engage your stepfather enough to know, then you're kind of stuck in a place where you don't understand relationships enough to be able to have one of your own. And this gentleman had a very difficult time. He was even talking about the aspect of divorce. Clearly his divorce shows that he's had a challenging time and that he's a hard person to be in relationship with. I want to say this part right here that I feel people need to understand. I know my lack of a father was a big reason why he couldn't find true love and understand the ebbs and flows. All I can do is accept that and try to turn it around. People can break your heart by leaving you, and the damage is tried and true, but I'm still a self-taught lover and a self-made man in every way, shape, and form. So let me ask you this. Have you understood, or have you taken the time to try to understand the challenges that you'll have and that you're having as a fatherless son and daughter in relationships? Are you repeating cycles that you're like, something's off about this? Are you self-aware enough to recognize that you keep having breakups and heartbreaks and people are abandoning you And you're living out these self-fulfilling prophecies because you keep picking the type of person who will abandon you. If that's who you are, put a 1 in the box. You're having these challenges and you don't really know what to do with it. You don't really know how to navigate it. You're kind of seeing it, but you don't know, you don't know what to do about it. And I want people who have been able to acknowledge the fact that their father being absent is a big reason as to why they're going through these relationship issues. I want you to put a 2 in the box. I want you to put a 2 in the box. And I will tell you guys, I know we get, a lot of people on here at different times and different moments. But I can tell you, I'm going to tell you why. Because some people, all they want to talk about is parental alienation and bad things. And when it comes to people dealing with their true hurts and pains, not as much engagement, because it's a hard thing to do. Nydia, thank you for telling your truth, owning your truth. Shay says, depends on the situation. My father left when I was just a little over a year. Next man adopted me and gave me everything I ever wanted or didn't get from the man who walked. Okay, Shay. So give us a little insight before we get off of here. Give us a little insight into how that person gave you what you needed as a woman versus what your father didn't give you. I hope I'm asking that right, where you understand it.
How did you know what her father didn't give her?
How did I know what her father didn't give her?
How would she know?
How would she know? Okay.
What her father didn't give her.
And he gave me, and that's a good question. And you need to type that in there. So
right here.
Well, hey, I always say I didn't know what I needed from my father until I knew what I needed from my father. I never knew. I never understood what I needed. And when you're fatherless, you don't actually understand what you need. Because guess what? You ain't never had a father to tell you what you needed or show you. So I never really knew. So you're saying the next man adopted you and gave you everything you ever wanted or didn't get from the man who walked. And does that mean, Shay, that the man who walked doesn't have anything to offer you? I'm going to ask that question too. Linda talking about, I missed it. Linda is always some replay, girlfriend. It is about healing and perception. Definitely, Shay. I want you guys, Linda, we're going to get off here in a moment. You can go back and watch the replay. I read a letter, and we're talking about when you marry a fatherless son or a fatherless daughter and the challenges you will have. And I read a letter from someone that I believe will help you and Brian navigate some of the storms you're having. She said, he showed me that blood isn't the key to making a healthy family. I learned more from seeing one doing where the other didn't. Okay, so you saw one doing and where the other one didn't. What'd you say? Oh, got you. I want to address this. I want to address this part. The best part about that is that's the supplement, right? That's the supplement part that is super duper important. But there's some pieces concerning your father that you need because it's DNA driven. And it's like, as much as we want to like go against the DNA and say, okay, I'm okay, even without that information, because that person walked, you need that part of them because DNA is what's speaking. DNA is what's crying out. DNA is what is definitely, we've all learned that blood ain't always thicker than water. See, once again, going against the cliches that society teaches us, because they always say blood is thicker than water. Not when you got a toxic mama, it ain't. Sometimes we get a good supplement mama or bonus mama like I have, or people who've come into my life, and I'm sure some of your lives, who have been great mothers and great bonus moms and stepmoms and all of those different things. However, they're not your actual parent. We all still wanted our mother. We all still have that desire, even after talking last week. That same desire, Shay, is there concerning your father, but there's a lot of hurt and pain there, I'm sure, as well. Nydia said, I didn't know what I missed or needed from my dad, but I knew I was missing something. Yeah, that's the crazy part. And I say that all the time. I didn't know what I was missing until I knew what I was missing. You can feel something is missing. Absolutely, Linda. She said, I learned at 9 that my adopted dad was not my real father. After that, he made sure that no matter what I had security. Oh, he made sure you had security and more, which is super important. It's super duper important. And she says, no, that man, Biofather, is stealing my air. That is all he does. Yeah, see, that's going to be one of them challenging ones. And I think a lot of them are challenging. Tokyo, you doing the most. He's needing love and attention. At this point, I think he needs to be scratched. Y'all pray for Tokyo. Okay. So what don't you agree with, Linda? Help me understand. You can fill a void. That doesn't make you not have a void, though, if that makes sense. Okay. Okay, so Shay, your father is a bad person, a bad man. Okay. So there's a difference in the type of father that we're talking about. There's a difference in the type of, if you have a father who's abusive, who's drug addicted, who's those types of things, I'm not talking about that dad.
Well, I'm sorry, but I think she needs to know that part of him so she doesn't end up like him. Do I need to tap it in?
Yes. How you gonna? He won't get on camera, but he want to be in the shadows. You guys, come on. He got to get on. He got to type that in. She said, "Nope, I forgave him years ago. Miss nothing from this man." Okay, I'm not here to force any of that on you. And Linda, I want you to explain what you're talking about. I'm not opposed to what you're saying. She said you can fill a void. That doesn't make you not have a void, though. Okay. So explain what you mean by that before we try to close this chapter. Shay said, wrong. I ain't mad at you for that, Shay, because I don't know who your dad is. And I think this is not for every person, but everybody doesn't have an abusive dad. Everybody doesn't have a dad who's an addict. Everybody doesn't have a dad who, is a bad person. Some people have an absent father for other reasons, and therefore they should do their best to find out who this person is due to some of the things that they need. Nydia said, get out of the shadows. Call them out. Can you add me to this live? I have much to say to type out. No, because I'm on my computer and I can't add you from my computer. You can only add someone to the live from your phone. Okay. So my husband says, Shay, I think you need to know the part of him so that you don't end up like him. Interesting. After years of therapy, I learned the number one rule is that you don't have to be like anyone. That's very true. I have a choice, and that choice says just because my dad left or my mom did drugs doesn't mean I have to be the same. Absolutely, Shay. Not enough people learn that lesson. And let's just keep it honest. Shay said something that is vitally important here. Therapy.
So it sounds like
therapy.
It sounds like she's already addressed it.
Therapy. You gonna sit here and talk in the shadows? He's still talking in the shadows, y'all. Get him. He gonna either type it in or he gonna step into the camera. He gonna step up to the mic. That's what he's gonna do. So Shay, the key that you said is therapy. Majority of the people will never get to therapy. They will never get there. I am a strong proponent of therapists, counselors, psychotherapists. I got a roster of them. If you need one, let me know. Okay, let me know. So you don't have to be like anyone. That is not something that you have to do. However, that does not mean that most people won't do that. Most people are repeating the cycles without even knowing what cycles they're repeating because it comes from their DNA and they have not taken the time to go to therapy. That's why you're different. You don't have to be the person who left. But do you recognize the fact that too many people who have been abandoned by their father, especially, they've been abandoned by this parent, they tend to do the abandoning of other people. They reject before they're rejected. They abandon before they can be abandoned. That is a bad cycle that too many people are repeating cycles on. If I talk about parental alienation, I'm going to talk about the part that needs to be healed, because there was some mess going on Facebook today, and I had to delete some people. Because too many people who are dealing with parental alienation have not healed the part of their father wound either. And so they've repeated some bad habits and some bad cycles that has happened to create their alienation. I'm not making them responsible, but I'm telling you there's some things there that they're just ignoring because they're so focused on the alienator that they can't see some of the ways in which they instigated it or they caused it, or even now how it's causing PTSD and actual emotional harm to themselves. And they need to go to therapy and get some healing as they journey through this. So Linda says, step parents can help fill the void of abandonment and give you the security you are missing, but that doesn't mean that you don't feel the pain of having an absent parent who created you. Absolutely, Linda. I get that. I get that. Yes. So that's why I call it a supplement. And Charles gave an awesome analogy. He said it's like putting a 3-inch screw in a 2-inch in a 2-inch hole, right? That's what he said. Yeah. He said, right, or it's the right object, but wrong hardware. And so you can get some stuff, you can get some things from that process. However, you're not getting everything that you need. Shay had to be in a place where she had to deal with it. Oh, you told Nydia she got a smart mouth. Come out the shadows. Tell him. He has a lot that he needs to bring to the table concerning this. But, we're all on our own journey, and it is what it is. But I need for us to understand that a stepfather is a good person to have, but it doesn't mean that they're going to give you some of the things that your father should have given you. You will still miss out on some things. What are you saying, Beck? You see something? Shay says, but no, I do fight for good fathers. I know you do. We know good and bad on both sides, but therapy is the key to happiness. Yeah, therapy. I'm sorry I'm not laughing at you, Shay. I'm laughing at Nydia coming at Mari. She's like, we can't hear you. Therapy is the key to a lot of things, because I feel like even if you did have your father in the home, babe, can you plug up the computer? I can't. I know it's winding down. Even if you did have your father in the home, some of us who grew up, or some of you who grew up with your father in your home, you still need therapy. It's plugged in. You still need therapy as well, because therapy gives you tools to navigate challenges and obstacles. Therapy is the cure for a lot of this stuff that we're dealing with. Linda says, we know you're there, Varg. You can quit typing like you're in another room. See this, but let me say this. This is what I love about having hard conversations. If anybody is watching and they're like, why are they always tackling such negative stuff? There is still laughter in the room. You know why? Because our hearts are not so far gone. We're not so broken that we don't know when to laugh. And I think, as they say, laughter is good for the heart. Laughter is like a medicine. And so we need to laugh even when we're talking about these things. We need to always laugh. So thanks for the comedian over here to my right for making us laugh tonight. And I appreciate the dialogue between Nydia and Linda concerning him sitting in the shadows. Maybe y'all can get him out to have a conversation on one of these Facebook Lives, because we have our challenges. Because guess what? I'm a fatherless daughter who met her father and healed a lot of it.
I am not.
You are not what? A fatherless daughter?
No, I'm not.
No, he's not. What are you?
I'm a fatherless son.
Mm-hmm. He's a fatherless son who might have seen his father 5 times in his life. Maybe his father's passed on, and there hasn't been the resolve that many of us would be able to get if a father was living. So let me see. Shay says, yes, I do recognize my daughter now has a mother who abandoned her, and my stepson from my previous, his father abandoned him. I've lived all sides of this nightmare, and that's why I'm the voice that I am. And living those sides of the nightmare, the sad part is sometimes we have to have cycles in our lives that help us become more aware and pay more attention to it. So if you're going on what I call the merry-go-round effect, you're going to have to stop eventually. If it keeps doing this, eventually stop and recognize and consider, this might be happening because of my fatherlessness. She says the pain left behind is always a scar on the soul. Like when someone loses a limb, then they feel it, but it's not, feel it there, but it's gone. I get it. This is the difference. What you're talking about is the difference between a wound and a scar. Shay, the craziest part about all of this is majority of the people are not where you are. They're walking around with a wound. It's bleeding. It's gushing. They're dating. They're interacting with people. And it's a hidden wound, so no one knows it's there but them. And the truth is we want to date more people who have scars. Scars represent healing. It represents healing. And sometimes every now and then you get a little ache and you remember, oh yeah, that was that. That was from that one moment. That ache is a trigger. Sometimes it happens because we're not as whole and complete all the time like we want to be. There are triggers that exist within all of us. Linda said, hashtag fatherless adults in relationships. Absolutely. She said, I think it's also a big problem that some people don't get, even stepdads. Although they are stepping in and taking care of the children that aren't their own, they don't understand their stepchild wants to know who they come from. Absolutely. Nydia, you can type that 1,000,000 times because that is the truth about every fatherless child. I don't care how many mentors, surrogates, coaches, stepdads that you give us. If we have a dad out there that we know and we sense might be a good dad, and I'm not talking about the dad that was in the letter. Linda, I'll send you the letter that I read, or you can go back and listen. But I read a letter tonight, and the gentleman talked about the fairy tale dad that he had in his mind. We all have this fairy tale dad in our minds. Even when you have a dad in the home, you have a fairy tale dad in your mind. You want your dad to be like Cliff Huxtable. You want your dad to be like, who's the dad on TV now that everybody likes? I think that show Black.
Good Times. Oh my God, that was hilarious.
I can't with him, you guys. He needs to be at work tonight. Did y'all hear what he said? He said James from Good Times.
He was a stern father.
Get out of here.
The dude from Blackish.
Yeah, Blackish I think is the new Cosby, and then I've seen that show, The New Normal. Mark is about to get Tokyo. He tried to come up here and be in the camera again. I can't deal with all the antics that's going on behind me. I should have background, like, you know how somebody's filming and taking pictures of the background so you can see everything that's going on. Tokyo's getting in trouble because he keeps trying to get in my lap because he wants to be on the camera. But nonetheless, we have ideas of who fathers are based on media and propaganda and stuff that we see and stuff that we just make up in our minds. And therefore, guess what? It's going to pose a problem when you have a real father in your life, because it did for me. I'm telling you. That was a hard letter to write, but it was easy to mail. I was like, he need to go. He is ruining my perception of fathers. My own father was ruining my perception of fathers. Crazy enough. Shay said, it took me years. I turned 44 tomorrow, and I can tell you it took a long time to be here. Well, happy early birthday, Shay. And I appreciate you just being upfront and dialoguing about your journey. Because once again, what we're talking about is typically the general conversation. But I know there are people on here who tend to have ideas and experiences that some people aren't having because they've taken the extra step. You've taken the extra step to heal. And everybody hasn't done that. A lot of people are on a different level of their healing journey than you are. And hopefully you're giving them insight into where they'll be sooner than later. Nydia says there are adults out there building families without realizing they never had a foundation themselves. Oh, I'm giving you poetry snaps on that one. Yes, no foundation. That's what the letter talked about. He had no foundation. He understood manhood to a certain degree, but he had no idea what being a husband meant. He had no idea what that was like. And so he messed it up. He consistently messed it up to the point he found himself in a divorce. So Linda says, anyone else feel this way in their relationship? I feel more understood in my relationship now than in my previous relationships because Brian understands my fatherlessness. Okay. So Linda, I'm gonna tell a little bit. The reason Linda, I think, is asking this is because Brian also grew up fatherless. Even in meeting Brian, Brian is very similar to my husband. You don't know this, babe, but while we were in
DC.
No, Vegas. I'm sorry. I was in a lot of places recently. We were in Vegas. Brian got to meet his bonus mother and his half siblings while we were there. Oh, and I almost choked Brian out. I'm telling on you right now. He probably in the background going, don't nobody know you right now. Don't nobody know you on here. Brian comes up to me and he's like, I need some steps to what I need to do. Because I'm going to meet my stepmom and my half siblings. I said, well, when are they coming? He said, 10 minutes. I said, you are working me over something right now. He was like 10 minutes. So I gave him one thing. And the one thing I gave him was have no expectations. And then when they came, they were like, this is awkward. I was like, and his half sister said, I'm so glad somebody said it. It is very awkward to meet family. That we can talk about that another night, like what to expect when you reunite. It was super cool to watch him go through that journey. And I need you to know that, Brian. It was awesome to watch you go through that journey. And I know that was just a part of the journey. You got multiple layers that's going to come with this. But it was cool to watch you take that first step. Because then you'll eventually get to where Shay is saying she is. Your father has passed on, but you're going to get stories and memories and things that are going to help you understand who you are because of it. See, Nydia said, see, they're laughing at you. I'm still at James from Good Times. They're laughing. I see their laughs in the faces. I'm not there yet, but extremely happy for you. Yeah. Nydia, you'll get there. You'll get there. See, Idris Palmer said James from Good Times was a good father. I can't with you guys. I didn't watch Good Times. And don't take my black card. And see, this is what my best friend, this is why we can have fun too. My best friend always teases me because my maiden name, as you guys, Dr. Tori J. Evans Barton. And so they try to take my black card because they like, you didn't watch Good Times and your last name was Evans because his name was James Evans. I didn't. I liked, what did I like? He can't even remember.
The Jefferson?
Come on. I wanted to move on up. We lived on the east side. I like the Jeffersons. I didn't like Good Times. I didn't like them living poor like that. I'm sorry. It was just one of the things. I didn't like it. But I get, when I look back on it, I get that he was a good father. He worked hard in all of those things. So, Idris, I'll let you and Varg have that. So Linda says, I had this fairy tale. I just did a video about it. I had a fairy tale image of my father. And when I finally met him at 17 years old, he was an addict. That was devastating. I wanted my knight in shining armor. And Hollywood told me I would have a beautiful reunification, not a damaged man. I'm so happy for you, Dr. Tori. You helped me learn, to heal from that. Girlfriend, even when you have what appears to be for other people a knight in shining armor, it's not a knight in shining armor. It has its flaws because it's human. It's not something you created. It's not an idea in your mind. It's a human being. And this human being is flawed. And as your father, they're super flawed. And so just be okay with their flaws because it reveals a lot about your flaws too. When they get there, it's a whole new level of living after that. Shine all day, forgiveness and healing. Absolutely. He's looking at me like Dr. Tori's talking about me. Yep, I am. I'm getting side eyes and pierced lips. Don't give her side eyes. You need your own talk show on major network. Mark, I hear you. Call it into existence. Working on some stuff behind the scenes. God is good. Linda talking about, I second this. I'm gonna ask, would you guys watch a talk show where we talked about healing from fatherless stuff and relationships? Because there's a myriad of topics that we can have around this. Would you guys? Because I'm starting a podcast soon. I will at least tell you that. I have to go to Atlanta next week, and I'm going to start filming aspects of my podcast called "I've Got Daddy Issues." I'm keeping that. I'm about to do some stuff with that. Somebody had to have Vargs back on the good times.
Thank you.
Absy, I love the laughter. I love the laughter. Oh, he's okay with it. Throwing his guard off. He'll be okay. George Jefferson was a clown. Oh, dang, Idris. George Jefferson was not a good father. I hear you, Mark. Mark said, I'm serious.
Right, he had 2 different sons with the same name.
We are not going to compare fairy tale fathers and TV fathers right now. We're not going to do it. We are not going to do it. So, you guys, I thank you for engaging tonight. We're at an hour and 6 minutes. I thank you for engaging tonight, for having this conversation with me, for laughing with us. My husband, the clown over here, having this conversation is not always easy for us. Shay, you shared the part about your journey and being healed. And Linda and Nydia, you're able to chime in and talk about getting to that place and still working through the challenges that you have. I hope that the conversations that we have here on the Fatherless Generation Foundation's page on Healing Tuesday is helping in your journey towards your full and complete healing. That is what's imperative to me. That's what the reason I do this. I do not like getting on here, to be honest with you. As much as y'all like, she need a TV show on the network. Oh my God, I hate the camera. And I've just resolved getting on here with no makeup. Like I can't even think about it. Because if I try to do all of that, then I'm never gonna get on here. So I get on here just as nervous and as concerned, like, oof, I'm gonna just do it with no makeup and keep it moving. Because I'm telling you, if I start worrying about all these other things, it won't happen. But I am grateful that you guys are on here listening, chiming in, that you guys are top fans, as I see on here. Okay, Linda, you said, I love that you are normalizing these types of conversations. It is important to do that. It is important to wear your fatherlessness as a badge of honor, in a sense. It's not a shame. I'm not ashamed of growing up fatherless. And I can tell you when I say it, people are like, oh, well, why are you clutching your pearls like I said something horrible? My fatherless journey shows who I am. It shows you my character. It shows you the struggles that I've been through. It gives you at least a glimpse and somewhat of an understanding of who I am when I introduce myself to you, and you get to know aspects of me. There are things that I'm going to share with you guys that you're probably going to be shocked that I've even endured, because I don't ooze trauma when I walk into the room. And that's where I want to get you to. I want to get you to the place where you don't ooze trauma when you walk into the room, because I can tell you right now without question, when you walk into a room, some of you, people pick up on your fatherlessness. They pick up on your trauma simply because it's not healed. You have an open wound. You don't have the scar that Shay is talking about. I missed most of this day. Got to watch it from the beginning. Becca, what I love about you is you are always on the replay, girlfriend. And so it's good from the beginning, because there's a letter that I read word for word. And it's important that you listen to the letter. Next week, I don't know what I'm going to talk about next week. What I want you guys to do is inbox me with some of the topics you want me to discuss. I see you, Linda. You wear the ribbon every day. Yeah, inbox me some of the topics you want me to discuss, because I'm here for it. I'm open to it. And if I don't know about it, guess what? We're going to have the conversation and allow you guys to engage just like Shay did tonight and say, no, I don't agree with that. This is what happened to me. And this is why my father wasn't a good place to go. Okay? Idris, you and the Fred Sanford Talking about now he was a father. Fred Sanford was a father to Lamont. I can't. See this, I love this dialogue. I cannot get enough of it. Let me see. At this point, you need to make me ambassador. Gia. I got you. We talk about this. Broken knows when they see more broken. Absolutely. Not hard to see someone who has a bad parent experience or situation. Yeah, either your age or your addiction to TV land. Yes. Becca says, I'm proud to say I'm a fatherless child and my mama was basically non-existent. So an orphan. No shame, baby. And you don't let anybody put any shame on you, Becca. We appreciate that. We appreciate you guys tonight. I'm Dr. Tori J. Inbox me with some of your topics that you want us to discuss, and we're going to tackle them. It's Healing Tuesday. I pray that you ladies and gentlemen are getting the things that you need out of Healing Tuesday. And I will see you next week, maybe with my sidekick. Who knows?